Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel because I have new videos uploaded every week just for you. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the Seiko King Samurai. This is the King Samurai that was recently launched. I think it is barely a year old, and this is the reference number SRPE35K1, and it is called the King Samurai because it's got some upgrades over the more regular Samurais. We're going to look at those upgrades later on in this video. So most of the specs for the King Samurai is almost identical to the more regular production Samurais. They've got the same case, exactly the same stainless steel, 44mm case size, same thickness, same movement, the Seiko 4R35, same bracelet. And the main differences between the King Samurai and the more regular production Samurais are: number one, the ceramic bezel insert, and number two, there's an addition of Sapphire Crystal in front here. So I think you could say that this is the Seiko that many Seiko fans have always wanted. You see plenty of people modding the regular Samurais. For example, I've got the 53 here, the SRPE35K1, so you see lots of people adding things like Sapphire Crystal. You've got the dome types or the flat types, and then people will add the ceramic insert or change the insert to sapphire or ceramic style and all that. But this one here, I think Seiko has finally listened to their fans and their supporters, so they've come up with something that you've always wanted, and you don't have to mod it. You don't have to mod your Samurais, and hence the King Samurais were conceived. I think they've got 3 different models: the black face, this is the one I'm holding, the 35. They have the white dial one, and of course there is also the new Mentare series. So what they've basically done is to add on the features that most fans would have modded anyway. So in comes Sapphire Crystal and ceramic bezel insert. So let's just zoom in a little bit and look at the watch closer, and let's first talk about the ceramic bezel insert. Now, it's a really nice and shiny type of bezel insert, not the matte type, and I would say it really gives the feel of an upgrade. And I think this is the first time I've seen a stock Seiko models having a one color bezel for the Samurai, because previous Samurais they all have bi-colored bezels. Take a look at this one. This is the Pepsi, and even for my Great White Shark Safety Ocean, the first to 15 minutes counter is done in grey, then the rest of the bezel is in blue. And this one here is the first time I've seen just one color bezel for the Samurai, and I think this sort of adds a touch of dressiness to things. Alright, so I think this King Samurai it gives me the impression that it's dressier than the previous models. And it is also worth noting that the numbers and the markers here, they're engraved. Alright, they're not simply painted and covered up, they're just nicely engraved, nicely done here. And one thing special about the lume pip here, it has a crystal or a layer of glass protecting it. And let's just compare the differences here. I've got the 53 here on my right hand, so you will see here the lume pip is not protected. Alright, it is applied, I think, recessed, but it's not protected. Alright, whereas over here it is nicely framed on the King Samurai here, nicely framed, and there is, you see, there's a layer of crystal or glass or hard legs protecting the lume pip. And the bezel action here is typical Seiko, nothing to shout about. 120 click, although on this particular piece that I'm holding on to, the mid click, right, the in-between click is actually less pronounced. So it doesn't really feel like 120 click, it feels more like a 60 click. There is a very slight feint of mid click, alright, but overall I think this bezel action is just a very standard Seiko type of bezel action. And lastly, we're going to talk about the Cyclops here. The Cyclops here is a new addition, and previous or other standard production Samurais with hard legs, alright, they don't have the Cyclops. Okay, so you can see here that the numbers are much smaller. Cyclops here magnifies the number in case you need to remember when your payday is, or when your bills are coming in when you're diving. All right, that's very important. The Cyclops does serve a very important function. So now that they've added the Sapphire Crystal, I think it saves some mod fans some time. You don't have to buy the crystal for another $60 to $80 and then pay another $20 to $30 for the installation. So I think it's a great move by Seiko to include a Sapphire Crystal, but of course prices have been bumped up as well. So at the time of this video review, the King Samurai series, I think they go for typically around Singapore dollars $500 to $600 street price, and you can pick this one up from our boutique. If I'm not wrong, it is under $600. If you smile to Eric, alright, the guy who runs the store, alright, if you smile to him, you're very nice to him, you call him bro and all that, perhaps he'll give you a nice discount. So comparing the prices of the King Samurai versus the prices of more regular production Samurais. Now this one here, the regular ones, I think they go for about 300 to 400 Singapore dollars depending on bracelet or non-bracelet versions, but the King Samurai here goes for about 550 to 600 Singapore dollars. So if you ask me if the pricing is justified, right, is the upcharge justified, I would say yes, because I think the upgrades here, they save you a lot of money and hassle to go to the guy who mods the watches. So now let's go on and talk about the other differences. The more visible differences are all concentrated in the dial, and of course here you've got a new look to the dial here. Let me just play with the camera angle a little bit. You can see that there's a really nice texturing going on. I think this is called the Tapassory Texturing. I apologize if I pronounced it wrongly. Not too sure if it's French or English. So they've got this texturing that is very similar to a lot of classic brands like Patek and AP. So on the Aquanaut or the RO watches, you'll see such texturing. And well, to be honest, I think the texturing does look good, but it is not something new to Seiko. And even if you were to look at the regular Samurais, all right, this is like the plain Jane 53, the cheapest, lowest end model Samurai, and you can see that there's already some form of texturing. The only difference here being the texturing is bigger. All right, so if this is a wafer dial, this is like the chocolate bar dial. All right, and I would think it is really quite attractive. And to add to the texture, there's also a hint of gilt dial kind of look here by way of the gold plated seconds hand, the central seconds hand here, and also Divers 200 meters is now printed in gold. Okay, so again, together with the ceramic bezel insert, I think all these things give the watch a more dressier look. So a few other things worthy of noting. I know there are many fans, Seiko fans out there, who always complain about the misalignment of the crown, and to be honest, of all the Samurais I've handled, that misalignment is minimal. Right? There is a bit of misalignment of the crown, but I would say it's not quite enough, all right, for me to complain about the build quality. All right, people are referring to the gap here, so the upper and the lower gaps of the crown here. So there's been lots of complaints about this misalignment, so the crown could be sitting too low or too high. But on the Samurais that I have handled, I don't really see this to be a big problem. So as described before, the bracelet is the standard type of Seiko Samurai bracelet. There's totally no difference. It is still the stem clasp here, but it works really well. You get a good you get a good adjustability on these bracelets, and the fit here is typical Seiko Samurai. All right, it is a big and chunky watch, but it remains very wearable because it's got very short lug to lug length. I think this one here is just under 48 millimeters lug to lug, and thereby despite being a very big watch, the Samurai remains very comfortable and very wearable. So all in all, I would say, right, you do need to pay an upcharge if you want features such as sapphire crystals and ceramic bezel insert. Now Seiko has finally listened to its fans, and I think this is the right move, because you get fans who want to pay for these upgrades as opposed to fans who want to pay a bit less and then you know, going to the mod shops to get the specs that they want. So I think this is a fair pricing. You're paying about $200 to $250 more, but you are sort of getting the watch with the specs that you want. All right. One thing though, I like to see Seiko improve on their so-called higher end models of the Samurai. Perhaps they could have considered using the 6R35. Of course, that's going to bump up prices quite a bit. I think it will, you know, make the watch enter the $800 to $1,000 category. But I think again, there is a market for such watches. People are willing to pay over $1,000 for Captain Willard models, the new one. So I don't see why fans would not, you know, pay $1,000 or $800 for a Samurai upgraded with the 6R movements. So there you have it. That was my quick review of the Seiko King Samurai SRPE35K1. Alright, it is not the cheapest Samurai that you can find, but you do get some form of upgrades, right, in form of better specs and better material. So I say, you know, it's a pretty good buy if you want a Samurai with higher specifications. Alright, now if you like this video, if you like this guy here, George, please come back here every week. Please subscribe to my channel. This is the Watch Kaki. We're gonna say goodbye for now. Bye bye.